Anyway, did that for 2 years. I was young, I wasn't married or anything like that. Made about $12,000 a year, but I was around some pretty famous baseball players. But really 2 careers: medical sales. So I was in medical sales for about 12 years. All right, got a job selling in the operating room over in Jacksonville. Did that for 4 years. Jacksonville, Tallahassee games. So I've been in Shands a million times. Got to see surgery. Cool job. Did that for 4 years, then became a district manager up in Atlanta, Georgia for 40 years. That was wonderful. Worked with some really, really talented people. Made good money. Then became part of their national accounts team. Did that for 2 years. That was awesome. That was wonderful. And in that, and I don't say this to impress, but it'll tie in, you know, I won trips to Scotland. I won trips to Ireland. I won trips to the south of France. We crushed it. We did really, really well. And it was great. And then I left in '99 to go with that was when the .com world was really starting to grow. And I went with the medical distribution company that was in the .com world out of Seattle. But that got me back to Jacksonville, okay, where I had been since '89. Got us back to Jacksonville. I was married now. And did that for 3 years, from '99 to 2002. Good money there too. But the .com world imploded in 2002. It kind of died. So at that point, you guys, I was like, well, what do I want to do? We just had Luke. I traveled extensively. I was gone all the time. I had responsibility for Mississippi River East and all the reps that were there, so it was crazy. And I was tired of the OR. So I was like, well, what do I do? Well, I knew a lot of people over there, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to get into business for myself. Got in 2002, July of 2002, joined a small boutique firm. And in a year and a half, I could kind of tell, I could look behind the curtain and go, ooh, the emperor's naked here. The emperor's naked. And it's not a pretty sight. A lot of things fundamentally wrong with the way they're running the business. And so I left and I went with what is now Coldwell Banker Vanguard, and was there from 2004 selling out at the beach out there till 2009, had a team. 2009, recruited away by Steve Tufts, who some of you know, and started in the Jack's Beach Market Center, 2009. Okay, well, we did pretty well, again, because of an amazing staff. Grew that office, got the opportunity to open up Amelia Island in 2012, took that, and that's been a wonderful ride. So we've got Amelia Island as well. And then we opened up our Southside Boulevard office in 2014, and that's done well. And then we opened up St. Augustine in 2017. Okay. And so in that, I'm an owner in those offices. So it's worked out very well. So if you take a look at the medical sales career, and you take a look, because I got my license in 2002, you probably could, let me ask this question. Anybody in here in real estate in 2002? 2. Okay, how many in 2006? 7. 8. Okay, all right, so interesting. With that being said, so we got a younger group in here, all right? You couldn't have gotten into real estate at a better time than 2002. You had about a year to get your feet on the ground, and then the market went crazy. Okay, the market went nuts. So it was wonderful. So the money was flowing in. I knew a lot of people at the beach in Jacksonville. It was a high average sales point price. It was wonderful. It was really good. Had a team that worked out great. But I could tell May of 2006, it was weird. It was like the faucet started to turn off just a little bit. And I didn't know what was happening, but everybody says 2007. I could look at my numbers and go, oh no, it was May of 2006 when it started to happen. Okay. And then what really happened for the 2, well, 3, I mean, it went, okay, guys, and I can't stress enough how slow it went. So in the medical sales world, again, real numbers, you know, I made in that $125,000 to $175,000 range. Wonderful trips, company car, insurance, 401k, all of that. I leave and go to real estate at the perfect time know a ton of people, and I do the same thing. You just don't get the trips, and you don't get the company car, and you don't get the pension, and you don't get the 401k. But you're your own boss, and your freedom and flexibility and all that stuff. So with respect to that, again, perfect time. Okay. Owned a couple of homes and owned a commercial property, live in a very nice area called Atlantic Beach over there, and everything was wonderful. 2006, we're still okay. 2007, still okay. 2008. Okay, I've got a family of 4 now. Used to making what I told you, and that's not to impress, just to impress upon. Here's my 2008 tax return. What's that number right there?
Lower than we would like to see. $37,426.
Okay. So guys, when you're a family of 4 living at the beach, doing all of that stuff, thinking you're doing the right thing, when you go from 6 figures down to $37,000, that's devastating. It's devastating. And it's not like it jumped back up to $137,000 the next year. It did. So we go from doing this and we go to $37,000. So what happens? Here's what happens. Back then, it wasn't so cell phone driven. It wouldn't matter today. You start getting a lot of 1-800 phone calls. Okay, and those 1-800 phone calls are not good phone calls. And they do wonders for your marriage too, as well. Okay, and what starts to happen is you realize, well, back then, I think the people would agree, you look, you go, well, wait a minute, we'll get out of this. We'll get out of this. But it doesn't happen. And then here's what you do. I can't speak for everyone. Here's what I do. I'm like, no problem. I'll get a HELOC. I'm like, what do you want? So I do. I get a $150,000 HELOC. And I'm good again. Okay? You're shaking your head. I run that up to $98,000. And I get a call from PNC one day in my driveway. And they say, Mr. Dilworth, you're done. You're done. Now I'm like, this is a problem because the market hasn't come back. Okay? So I go to my parents, I borrow $5,000. I go to a college friend and borrow $25,000. Now this whole time, again, think about it. I'm in charge of the financial end of this family, and I've got 2 kids and a wife. Okay. Now my wife is not working because she wanted to stay home and she could to raise the kids. So I am not one source of income. All right. Well, things start to happen, and certain bills come in, and you can't pay them. You can't. There's no money to pay these bills. So what happens when that happens is you start to get nasty letters. You could even get a guy show up in your driveway, parked in a white Chevelle. I'm like, I pull up, I'm like, who's this guy? He gets out of his car and he hands me a package. You know what that package is? Foreclosure on my home. The home that my kids were raised in. The home that had 21 kids on that street. Okay? So that takes place. Then I get a notification from SunTrust on the commercial property because I can't make the payment. So now we're staring at a short sale square in the face. My wife's not working. We're in a 2,600 square foot home. I owe my parents $5,000. I owe another guy $25,000. And I don't know what I'm going to do. There's no way out. I don't know how to get out because the market wasn't going to turn. I don't know what to do. And it was, these times in our lives, and some of you have been through this, where you look at it and you look yourself in the mirror and you just feel worthless. You just feel worthless because you don't know where to go. And so a couple of things had to happen. I had to modify that loan. So I had to modify the home loan Now, back then, you guys, what was happening in the real estate world was that people would get so frustrated with their lender, they would just say, screw it. Because the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing, and every time you call, you get something different. And these people were like, you know what, screw it. You take these keys. I don't want it. I'm gone. But I didn't want to do that, and it wasn't so much because I wanted to be that guy that was like, oh, I'm, you know, no, this was my kids were raised. I had to stay here. I had to stay here, okay? And so it was through a very tedious process with PNC Bank, a very tedious process, where one day I got a letter saying, Mr. Dilworth, we have modified your loan. Here's what it is. I literally almost cried. And I remember I got a girl, you know, you call it a 1-800 number. I got a girl, and she was awesome. She was outstanding. You know how when you find that one, like, oh, she's got me. I know she's got me. And I'm like, I've got to have your direct number. Give me your direct number. And they don't do that, but she did. So that was like the little angel that popped up. And then I found out from a commercial standpoint where that SunTrust loan officer was. And for whatever good reason, he was down in Palm Coast. And I drove down there 3 times. Okay? And just got my face in front of him saying, hey, I'm not trying to run from this. So again, we're living large, living in Atlanta Beach, have a duplex in Neptune Beach, own a double wide in this up and coming area of Jacksonville. Everything's great, this commercial property, and all of this happened. Okay? So here to here. I'm not even here yet, I'm here. Make sense? So I remember for 2005, it was one of those things where this brand new business condo complex was opening. Everybody wanted a piece of it. It was $112,000. And I remember telling, we got one. And I remember telling my wife, she's like, well, you think this would be good? And I'm like, honey, nobody ever loses money on a $112,000 piece of property. Never. It doesn't happen. It doesn't. Until you sell it for, what's that number right there?
30,000.
Yeah, $30,000. Okay. So that's my name on the tax records right there. When I bought it, when I sold it. So now if you guys remember in the short sale world, you're facing a tax liability. Somehow again, I never got charged that. I never got charged that. We then ended up leaving the 2,600 square feet and moving into the top floor of our duplex. So now we're living in 900 square feet, 2 bedroom, 1 bath with a 130-pound Rottweiler. Okay, and we ended up renting out this house. And I remember like the hardest day, one of the hardest days of my life was when my wife and I, it was a Saturday, I'll never forget it. And I don't want this to sound the wrong way either, but I'm just being real with you guys. Is that in Jacksonville, you've got the Intercoastal Waterway, and then you've got the beach, and then you've got the main, if you will. We went across the Intercoastal Waterway to look at houses in certain neighborhoods that I never wanted to live in. And I remember walking into the first house and looking at it and literally wanting to puke. Just going, what is going on here? Because here's the truth, you guys, or so I thought. That happens to you, and that happens to you, and that happens to you, and it happens to you. That doesn't happen to me. It doesn't happen to me. It damn sure did. Okay? So we're going through a lot right now. I grew up I wouldn't say upper middle class. I grew up middle class. And so all of this is on me right now. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And something happened though. I was going to give it like 1 minute. There we go. Let's see if this pops up. Something happened to me. And I want you guys to watch this video. And really listen to it. You're going to click out of this. For some of you in the room, I have to explain something to you. Please don't take offense to this. This is important. I have to do it. Who in this room has heard of Buster Douglas? Okay, that's more than most. How many in this room has heard of Mike Tyson? Okay. So for you guys that have never heard of Buster Douglas, you just have to understand Mike Tyson back in the day. Like Mike Tyson was invincible as any human being has ever been invincible. Not to mention scary. Okay, it's like not even look at it. No way. Okay. And he fought a guy named Buster Douglas. So it's hard to hear it sometimes. Who in this room has heard of Eric Thomas? Okay. Listen to this.
No matter what it takes, you're not going to stop. You're not going to quit. You're not going to give up until you make the thing come to God. Jumping up and down the floor. My head is not anymore. When I leave this place, it's to help you to get that closer to making your dream become a reality. 2013 was the why. So what happens is, as you grow, as you develop, and as you improve yourself, these new concepts start to come. And so the why had always been a part of my life, but I was able to tap into 2013. I was able to tap into that why in a way I never tapped into that why before. Are you excited? I will be a millionaire. I'll change the world. I'm gonna do this for this person. I'm gonna buy this for my mom and my children. I'm gonna put them through school. You got all these great plans, and then you get up in the morning and life punches in your face. E.T., just like you, I get punched in the face. Now you don't always know about it. I don't always talk about it because I don't want to disturb you. But I've had multiple eyes, at least 2 or 3 eyes died of cancer in the last 4 or 5 years. We don't get knocked out. Life hasn't been a crystal very tough. I've had my haters. I've had people who come against me, who try to sabotage me. I'm like, I'm not there. I don't need something external to motivate me. I find something within. And you gotta do me a favor. Like, you can't give up. You can't give in. Life is doing it. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And if life got you backed up, I need you to do what Buster Douglas did. Buster Douglas started fighting back. Finally, after that, Buster Douglas. The world was shocked. Goliath has been knocked down. What happened? And they went to Buster Douglas and they asked Buster Douglas simply, like, what happened? Buster Douglas said, listen to me. I was going to be honest with you guys. Here's the challenge. The challenge was, it's real simple. Before my mother died, she told the whole world that I was going to beat Mike Tyson. And 2 days before the fight, my mother died. Buster Douglas had a decision to make. When his mother died, he could die with his mother, or he made a decision, I can wake up and I can live with mom. And he knocked Mike Tyson out simply because his why was greater than that punch. Find that reason to wake up every day and go get it. Everybody's got a dream. Everybody's got a goal. When you let your why down, what your why does for you is say, you can't quit. You can't give up. You can't stop. And there's no money you wake up so you go create. And nobody's giving you an opportunity to create it. But what I can't do is I can't let my son down. I can't let my wife down. I can't let my parents down. I can't let my city down. And for you, your problem is you're just focused on your dreams and your goals. You're not focused on why do you want this? Why do you get up in the morning? Somebody say, E.T., why do you wake up at 3 o'clock? Why not? If all I have to do is get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, my family will live like they want to live, and I can change the world. And at 3 o'clock, if you lost your mind, I'll get up at 3 every day. Why? Because my why is greater than my sin. What makes a person average in their focus? Like an average person is focused on getting paid. That's why they're average. A person who's good, he's focusing on, I want to make my boss happy. A person who's great, his focus is, what need can I meet? His focus is different. So human being, but his focus is entirely different. Your concentration is supposed to change. And so what you're focusing on throughout the course of the day, it has to change. What you're looking at, what you're reading, what you're watching, the conversations you have. You must now be focused on your why. You must be focused on your dream. You must be focused on your goals. When you are great, you don't focus on the week. When you are great, you don't focus on the month. When you are great, you don't focus on the year. I'm not saying the same thing wrong with planning, but what I'm talking about is you concentrate on the 24 hours that's in front of you and you live.
What'd you guys take out of that? Focus on what? Okay.
What you focus on experience.
Very good. All right, guys, I'm going to tell you, if you're down, listen to E.T. Eric Thomas on YouTube. He's awesome. So here's what happens. I take the Keller Williams job, and I've got an office in the corner like Wiki does, the bookshelf like Wiki does. And my son at this time is about that big. And he comes into the office, and he's standing next to the bookshelf. And he says, Dad, I want to play travel soccer. So if you would have asked me as a 23-year-old man, hey, your kid's going to come to you one day and say, hey, I want to play travel soccer, what are you going to say? And I'd say, let's do it, buddy. Let's go. I'm proud of you. As a 33-year-old man, if you would ask me the same question, I would have said the same thing. As a 43-year-old man, I would have said the same thing. You got to ask that question as a 45-year-old man. And I couldn't say yes. Couldn't say it. And Malcolm, if you could have taken my head and split it open at that moment, sitting behind my desk, you would have seen half my brain crying and half my brain disgusted. Again, how did I get here? I don't go here. You do, you do, you do. I don't. And I was there. And it was at that moment. It's the first time in my life, because I never had any tragedies. I never, grandma and grandpa died, when time kind of dictated and all that. I never had any tragedies. And that was my defining moment. And it was at that moment, like so ingrained in my head, was this. I will create a lifestyle for my family that I feel that they deserve without allowing fear to hinder my progress. And I seared that big why into my brain. Because it was so impactful at that moment when my son, not understanding that I couldn't afford the uniforms and I couldn't afford the travel and the expenses and the food and all that type of stuff as a 45-year-old man. And Keller Williams has a tool called the 135. And I want to talk about this for a second. 1-3-5 or GPS. Okay? And it doesn't look like this, you guys. It looks brand new. But this was the first 135 I did. And I've done them every year since. And it's this. It's one primary objective. Vital myself or my family without allowing fear to hinder my progress. Then 3 goals that line up with that primary objective. And then 5 strategies for each of the 3 goals. Does that make sense? All right. So if you look at that, I'll just give you an example. You got my primary objective. The 3 goals, I'll just generalize them. 1 was to make more money. 2 was to reduce my debts because I still owed my parents and I owed that buddy and I owed that HELOC. And 3 was to hold my family together during this time, which wasn't. My wife is very supportive, but coming, and I want to say this with all due respect because some women in here are breadwinners as well. But I think, society sometimes dictates like, hey, I'm the breadwinner and I'm not doing it. What's wrong with me? It's almost like for the ladies in here, we as men, we can't possibly understand what it's like to be a mom. It's silly to even try. But we know it's so ingrained in you that if somebody said, Julia, you're a terrible mom, that's going to affect you. Well, that's how I felt. You're a terrible breadwinner. You're a terrible, terrible supporter of your family. So, make more money, reduce my debts, and hold the family unit together. So let's look at hold that family unit together. What were the 5 strategies that went with that? Okay. Well, the first strategy was, hey, I think if we go to church more, that's a good family activity. It probably will help. So I set a strategy of we're going to attend Mass 40 times this year as a family. The second thing was we've done something called Alex's Lemonade Stand for a long, long time. It's a pediatric cancer fundraiser. So I got the family together and I said, okay, this year we're going to set a family goal. What is that going to be? Once again, bringing the kids and the family together. The third thing with my son was easy. It was kind of like work on the self-defense thing. The fourth thing with my wife was pretty easy. We had to have some sort of cheap date night or something that we could do together once a month. The tough one was my daughter, because my daughter doesn't really want to wrestle with dad. She doesn't want to really do any of that. But what I found out was it was to walk the dog with her every day. Because that was great dad-daughter time. So follow me on this 135. I am totally pitching the 135 right now with GPS because it absolutely works. And what I said when I started this was, how are you going to do it? Because everybody said their spiritual life, their relationship life, their professional life, their monetary life is all going to be better. But I don't know that we've got a plan for it. Right? That's what the 135 was. And I can't stress it enough. Okay? And if you look, you can't really see. But on these strategies, there's 15. They're not all checked off. But 9 of the 15 are. So, was my life better at the end of that year, checking off 9 of the 15 boxes? Of course it was. Of course it was. So guys, I cannot stress this enough. And I'm going to go off key for 1 second with respect to this. Here's the challenge most face. Be honest here, no ego, no ego. Does anybody in here right now have a 135 that they look at every single week? Okay, Malcolm. Does it work for you? Yeah. Guys, here's the beauty of it. Here's the challenge of this for y'all. Some of you, I've got staff members that have done this. I don't want to, I can't write my goals down. I don't know. I just can't do it. Or it's too much because they feel like they have to fill out the whole thing. Again, I can't stress this enough. Do this. But don't worry about right away saying, I've got to make this perfect. Just start writing stuff down. But just start writing it down. And once you do that, go to Wiki and say, hey, help me shape this. But here's the thing, guys. We truly can create our own life. We really can. But the fact of the matter is most of us don't do it. Most of us wake up every single day, do the same freaking thing every morning, which is usually not productive. Okay? And I'm not, I mean, thank you. Thank you for laughing and recognizing, because I get it at a high level. But this is so important if you guys want to change things in your lives. Okay? The 135. I'll go back to that in a little bit. But so here we are. What did I have going for me at this point? Now I'm at the lowest point. What do I have going for me now at this lowest point?
Family unity.
Bingo. What did you say? Yep. So family unity. I've got a plan. Now what? Now what?
You gotta go to work.
Yep. So I took a job as team leader with a base salary of $52,000. Okay. Made that first year, I don't know, maybe 20 in bonus, so that's $72,000. Is that better than 37?
Significantly.
Yeah. Oh, when your expenses are $12,000 a month. Okay. All right. But it's a start. It's a start. I told you we moved back to Oleander. This is a funny story, not a funny story. But I remember at that time, I had a Rolex. And my wife had a Rolex. And a little local story. I bought it when I was single in medical sales here. And what is it? Is it Gauss and Sons? Is it still in the Oaks Mall? So this is what happened. I'm over here going to Shands in medical sales, spend the night. It's 8:45 in the Oaks Mall. You know how the gates are coming down in the thing? I go into Gauss. Y'all, I have been studying Rolexes like when I was a kid. I studied the Gators. Like I knew everything about every Rolex ever made. I walk in to the counter and the guy goes, "Oh, you want to look at that watch? It's $3,200." And I'm like, "That watch is $4,900." And all Rolex's prices are standard new. I'm like, $2,900 watch. He leaves for a second. He comes back. He goes, "Sir, I made a mistake." He goes, "That watch is not $3,200. It's $2,900. That's my fault. I'll honor that price if you buy it tonight. But tomorrow, if you come back, it's not going to be available." Okay. Now you're looking at a young guy that's not married, that has no kids. This is the biggest decision of my life. I've got 15 minutes to make the biggest decision of my life before those gates go down. And I buy that watch. And years later, I buy my wife a Rolex. And now I'm making $37,000 driving around with a Rolex on my wrist. How stupid is that? That's ridiculous. So I told my wife, we got to sell these watches. Contacted the guy. I've got my son. Now keep this in mind too. With this Rolex, not this Rolex, this with this Rolex, I was going to engrave on the back of it to my son and give it to my son at a certain age. So it meant a lot to me. So we pulled up to this bank on a Saturday. My kid's in the back of my truck looking. He's a little kid. He's looking back in the rearview mirror. I'm meeting this guy with an eye scope like thing, looking at my Rolex. I kid you not. An agent banks at this bank in our office. He walks up, and I'll never forget, he always bounced when he walked too, which was kind of aggravating to me anyway. So he bounces up. When we talk about emotional intelligence, this is none. This is negative. He can't realize that this is like the worst moment of my life. He's like, "Oh, Mark, you buying a Rollie?" I'm like, "No, Richard, I'm selling it. I got my kid looking at me. I got you, agent, get out of here." And I got this guy offering me like 20 cents on the dollar. It just wasn't a good day. But that was another thing I forgot. Like, I'm like, let's just strip and get rid of all of this stuff because we don't need it. Okay? So now, how do we get out of it? Here's the thing, you guys. This is what I wanted to talk about. How do we get out of this mess? So I took that job. I'm not making much more money. We leave 2,600 square feet and move into 900 square feet. We sell those Rolexes. All right? My wife doesn't leave the two kids, but leaves the two kids and goes back to work, which she didn't want to do. All right? We short sale the commercial property. We modify the loan. We get all of that done. And we're still not there. We're still not there. But think about this real quickly. Think about yourself. Don't answer. I'm not going to ask. Strip away the ego. Would you do that? Would you do all that? Would you leave 2,600 square feet and go to 900 square feet with 2-bedroom, 1 bath? Oh. Okay? Because when we get into this place, you guys, and again, right now, many are making money because the market's so good. We will have a slowdown. Again, you've got to understand, are you willing to do this? Some were, some weren't. Right? Some were, some weren't. So you look at it. I told you we short sold. I had a double I2, sold that at a loss after evicting the property. How many in here, be honest, have created a budget for their family? Okay. All right. So that's not a lot of people. Not dogging anybody. I've never done that either. Guys, create a budget for your family. I'm going to meet with the ALC later on this afternoon, and I'm going to ask them a question. How many are in the ALC? 60% will not be able to answer the question accurately. That's a pretty simple question. Okay? Create a budget for yourself. So we did that. All right? Created a budget. Show of hands. in here who has a bucket list? Again, thank you for being honest. That was another thing that I did. Created the budget for the family. So write this down, you guys, if you want, create a budget. Create a bucket list. That was done in 2008. And then besides each one of them, I've said done, ongoing, whatever that is. I cannot stress enough, you guys, you can truly map out your life. You really can. And here's the challenge for agents. Here's the challenge for agents. Who's going to get a phone call today if they're in the middle of a transaction and it's going to be something that throws you off? It's going to happen a lot. If it doesn't happen today, it'll happen tomorrow. And the problem with respect to the position of real estate agents is it's so flexible, and you're not an employee, that when something happens and oh my God, they found termites, it's like dropping a bomb. And for the rest of the day and possibly the rest of the week, that's all you're concentrated on. And then the next Monday, you come into the office and you go, oh God, what was I working on? Guys, understand this is the map. This is what changes your life. Okay, this is not a joke. It works. Creating the 135, having a budget, having a bucket list where you can dream. And again, you don't have to do it all tonight. But this is the type of stuff that helps. Okay? So, just out of curiosity, if you were to create a bucket list, what would be on that bucket list? Somebody say something.
Travel.
Where?
Germany.
Germany? Like travel now? Just out of curiosity. What else?
Ski trip.
Where?
Colorado was really fun. I like Utah too. I want to go to the Deer Valley like every year for the rest of my life.
Long home 38.
Okay. Who else? I'm not done with this yet. Who else?
Jump out of the plane.
That's nuts. Who's the team leader in waiting here? What else? 20? Create a 135 for it, if you haven't already. What else? That's what I mean, you guys. Like, and again, I want for each of you to be able to say, I want to go to San Francisco. I want to run across the Golden Gate Bridge. I want to go to Brazil and train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I want another Rolex to give to my son one day. Okay?
Across like 4 or 5 things on the bucket list this year so far.
Awesome.
I had a trip to Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
I saw Mount Normal Falls.
Okay.
I also went to Manhattan for the first time I'd ever been to New York.
Nice.
I didn't cross the Brooklyn Bridge. It was longer than I thought. I just like made it like halfway there, bought some mangoes from somebody, and walked back. But there's a few things, yeah.
All right. There's applause, guys. Yes. Take time to dream. You know, I talk to our agents about this all the time. But you want to double your business? Do some of these steps. Because we need to do it. Does that make sense? Any other bucket list items you want to share?
Convert a van and live in it and travel the whole North American continent.
Like a van or like a Toyota truck with the bed and the thing?
Like a sprinter van.
Okay, it's weird because I've been watching.
That's awesome. That's on my vision board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Now you're being literal on me. Like now you totally stripped away the ego. Because if I were you, when I said bucket list, in my mind, I was like, yeah. You didn't want to say this about this. I'm raising my hand.
I did raise my hand.
Okay,
Yes,
good,
I
good,
did
good,
raise my hand.
good.
That's my bucket.
What's on your vision board?
Bali, the band thing, hang gliding, kayaking. You know, that sounds really basic, but I've never done it.
Right.
But I'm crossing that off this Saturday. With my kids.
Very good.
A lot of cooking.
No, that's awesome. Great job. Very good. Yes, sir.
Pass out Bibles in Cuba.
Wow. Wow. He was on mine, passing out Bibles. You see me? Just thinking food and music, cigars. Yes, ma'am.
I'm actually doing one of them next week. I'm singing Hamilton, New York.
You're doing what?
I'm singing Hamilton, New York.
Oh,
That's an easy one. But I want to stay in one of the igloos and see the Northern Lights. That's one of them. I want to own the Market Center.
Very good.
And eventually I want to own a little beach bar somewhere in the Caribbean.
It's outstanding. That's great. Okay, so if you guys would just humor me and even fake it if you're not really going to do it. We talked about how do we get out of this. We talked about a 1-3-5. She wanted to write it down. Okay. A budget for our family. Right? A bucket list. Because when we're doing all of this, all we're doing is thinking about progression and what's next. Does that make sense? So go from making the 6 figures I told you about down to $37,000. Now here's your proof source. So where are we now? Again, I mean, I'm proud of this, so I'm not ashamed of saying it. But where is the Dilworth family now? So we're investors in 5 of those market centers, 4 really, one's a business center. Okay. We're investors in a title company. We're about to start a property management company up in Amelia Island. Okay. One day in some form or fashion, I'd love to partner with Wiki. But here's the thing, you guys, if you don't start writing this stuff down and you don't start dreaming it, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. Nothing. It won't. Doing here has a morning routine. And I'm talking about, when I say morning routine, I'm not talking about 1 out of 5 mornings. I'm talking about 4 out of 5 mornings. Anybody?
Feed horses in the morning.
Pardon me?
I said I have a morning routine of feeding horses and thinking about things. It's good my quiet time. I'm outside walking around. And you have to do it 7 days actually.
That's
There you go. Very good. I would just say this too. I know as I've gotten older, being outside, there's something different about being outside. It's just,
You watch the sun come up.
yeah.
And I don't bring my phone. It's just me.
Yeah, that's a morning routine. What's your morning routine?
I have a little Pama Poo, so she has to go out. So we go outside. That Pomeranian have
Okay,
poodle.
okay, all right, I got you.
So we get up, we go outside, we take our little morning walk, have my coffee, get ready. Again, no phone. That's, you have to separate from it for a minute.
Yep.
Put on a little music, get ready, take my shower. That's kind of my separation from the phone and all the craziness that's about to start. And it starts pretty early.
Okay, great. Did you have a hand? You had it. What's your morning routine?
My morning routine, wake up, I brew coffee while the coffee's brewing, I take a shower. I get my cup of coffee and I sit on my porch for 10 minutes and I either listen to meditative music
Nice.
or I just stare off.
Does it make a difference to you? Not whether you listen to music or stare off. but does it-
Especially that 10 minutes, always 10 minutes. Just having those 10 minutes of just reflection. Yeah.
Well,
It's pretty similar to what most people do. Start my coffee first thing. Different person would without it. It's the first thing I do, and I take a very hot, very long shower. That's kind of like my time to think about how my day is going to go, get into the calories that I need to get into, and I also do that's like having myself for the rest of the day. Talking to a lot of people, doing a lot of things. So that's kind of like my quiet time that I know no matter what, I get it in my day to start.
Right, okay, good. So, yes, ma'am.
This is Stacy. I wake up very early in the morning, I read, I plan, and then I write a list of today's activities to work on the primary. I have 3 primary projects I'm working on, so I plan the to-do list for today.
Awesome, very good. Okay, so guys, the folks that don't have morning routines, all this stuff, like, who in here, just out of curiosity, likes Tony Robbins? Who in here doesn't like Tony Robbins? It's okay if you don't. I'll throw something at you, but it's okay. Okay, I'm just curious. All right, with respect to the morning routines, guys, if you establish the right morning routine, okay, so it could be anything. It could be that. It could be feeding the horses. It could be getting up, stretching, having your coffee, going to your church, sitting down for 10 minutes, and that's your time on the back patio. And then it could be driving down one of the nicest streets in all of Florida before you go to the office to get your head right. It could be whatever. But what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a morning routine, y'all, is that when you don't do it, you're off. You're a little off. It doesn't feel right. Yes, sir.
I'll even say with mine is a little bit more, like mine has to be more detailed, like even down to like what my sink looks like every single day.
Yes.
What my brush is, what this is, what that is, you know, what order I do those things. My morning routine is that detailed. If I don't do it, I'm liable to miss something.
Right.
I've had times where like over the last summer I was traveling a little bit and I couldn't do the same morning routines. I would a couple days like out of that summer routine that I had. I'd walk out the house without brushing my teeth. I didn't realize until I'm in the car. I'm like, I didn't brush my teeth. But I didn't do everything in the same order I normally do it. So my routine has to be that detail.
Yeah, good. Very good. Yes, sir.
I feel like you're kind of talking to me right now because like my morning routine is kind of like to get up and go to the gym. Like that's kind of like I feel like I accomplished something that day. Like
Right.
it's kind of when I zone out. And I didn't go this morning. And I'm catching myself just kind of like no energy, just kind of like out of it. Like I didn't do what I needed to.
Yeah, it affects you that way. Okay. So again, I'm just going to keep doing this. 1, 3, 5, a budget list, or a dream board, a morning routine. Whatever your thing is to stay healthy, do that. Now I'm going to get to the big one. Here's the big one. What are y'all listening to? And if you're only listening to like once a month, don't say it. It doesn't count. What are you listening to on a regular basis? Come on. What are you listening to?
Christian radio.
Okay.
Joel Osteen and CNN.
Okay.
Simon Sinek.
Okay.
The reason is because I got to be and get a certain mentality.
Well, I think I speak for the rest of the market center that says we'd rather have you listen to gangster rap and remember to brush your teeth. So you go ahead, just brush those teeth. What else? Okay, you're listening to that? Okay.
That's the same thing within that. And I read motivational every month. I'm on a different book. Like, no, yeah, because my coach is a book club. So we, like right now, it's a millionaire mindset. The millionaire mind. So different books every month.
Okay. So you have a morning routine. You're listening to good stuff. All right. Dream board or bucket list?
Dream board and kind of bucket list. I mean, we've got, my family, like at home, we've got written down what we're going to do.
Okay.
And trips, vacations, goals.
And I don't know, maybe this is just a coincidence. How do you do in real estate?
Pretty good.
What's pretty good?
Being modest.
What's pretty good?
Pretty good. Last year, our team, we're one of the top teams. Our goal this year is 45 million. That's really good.
What'd you do in January, Whitney?
January, I sold. I was actually #1 agent in the board. The entire board.
Okay.
I'm working on trying to continue that. I can't not do. I got to do it every month.
Okay. Coincidence? Maybe. Probably set it down. And I know what some of y'all are seeing here right now saying, that much real estate. Okay, and that's fine too. That's fine too. But I guarantee you, most of you in here want to sell more real estate than you're selling right now. Okay. This stuff works, y'all. So don't knock him aside because he's going to brush his teeth. Don't get in your car and turn on the radio. Get in your car before you drive away and go to YouTube or go to a podcast. Okay? So people in here right now, share with me or share with the group, what are some of the things that you're listening to that helps you? And it could be Christian. Get into it. Okay. All right. So Zig, what else? Do what? Yeah. So, okay, you got the One Thing podcast.
Books on tape,
Be more specific.
self-help books on tape,
Be more specific.
motivational.
You are a badass.
Okay?
Tony Robbins.
I'm not sure what I should do here. So. I'm not sure. What else?
Tony Robbins' predecessors.
Like who?
Carnegie, Dale, what's his name?
Okay.
All of those people.
Yeah.
Got the
I'm
audience.
having a brain freeze, but
Jim Rohn.
those that were coming along long before time, some of them before you were born.
Very good.
And
What
listen
else?
to the,
Think like
Okay, what is that?
That's Gary Keller's podcast.
Okay. Have you guys listened to this yet?
If you took polls.
If you took polls, you did.
Okay. So,
That's what introduced me to it. I really enjoyed it. And I continue.
here's something. I gotta go off key here real quick. I just have to do this. So think like a CEO. If you guys go to your phone and download Think Like a CEO with Gary Keller. The episodes are great. There's one called Taking Back the Reins. Taking Back the Reins. It is as pure of a leadership conversation as one could ever have. If you want to listen to a leader, listen to Taking Back the Reins. Because here's what I tell you on that. This will be fun. Show of hands. Who's in love? I'm talking about Valentine's Day happy. Who's in love with Command right now? Okay. Okay. All right. So that's real. That's real. Because if you're in Market Center, it'd be the same thing. But here's the thing. When you listen to that podcast, it'll help you understand. And you'll stop listening to that podcast when it's done, and you'll respect where the leader of our company is coming from. Because it is full bore, whether you agree or not, it is sold out on that. We talk about one thing, he is practicing what he preaches, and you guys watch and see what happens. And that is not coming from a Keller Williams Kool-Aid drinking person. It's coming from a person that says 85% of the stuff that comes out of Austin is great. 15%, I'm like, man, come on. Okay? But listen to that when it comes to leadership. It is so good. It is so good. Okay, what else are we listening to? Okay. It's Vaynerchuk. You can't spell that, so just put in Gary G. Good job, Luke. Guys, he's great.
Jay Shetty.
Who?
Jay Shetty.
Jay Shetty. I don't know Jay Shetty. I know. Who's Jay Shetty?
He was a monk for a few years, and he talks a lot about mindset.
Okay. No, I don't know Jay Shetty.
Simon Sinek.
Steve Harvey.
You got a good story.
If anyone doesn't know, Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Why, which was my introduction to what the video of Eric Thomas was talking about, how important knowing what is your core driving factor, like who you are as a person and what's important to you. He writes this book. He writes that he has that book. And he also has a video on YouTube that kind of summarizes the premise of it.
TED Talk.
Yeah.
If you just want like the quick
Mhm.
Yeah. At least watch that YouTube video, but I recommend that you read the book because that should change everything about how your business is run. It talks about acting from the inside out as opposed to the outside.
Yeah, awesome. It's a great book.
John Maxwell is good too. He's good contemporary. And the TEDx guy.
Okay. Anybody else want to throw something? I'm going to throw a couple up there.
Wayne Dyer.
Nice. This is one good.
He sits exactly what you're saying about ego. I mean, that's where he.
MREA.
My cousin.
Anybody else want to throw something up there? Oh, I'm going to give you some jewels. Andy Andrews, The Traveler's Gift.
He has another book, Mark, called The Storms of Perfection.
Book that I heard about pretty successful people as a man thinker.
Okay, yeah, that's a great book. Real quick, another one with Andy Andrews. I haven't read this one. I've read this one. The Noticer. Awesome writing. Okay, As a Man Thinketh. Okay, that's Carnegie. Here's another, yes, sir. I haven't read that one yet, Chris. Is it good?
Excellent.
Talked about that yesterday. Here's a great one too, you guys. Resilience. What's that? Okay, so we'll stop. Here's what I'm going to tell you guys. Don't go in and listen to music all the time. There's so many great things that you can listen to that I promise you guys will change your life, especially if you're down right now. Especially if you're down. I'm going to give you one more. Oh, this is good. Anybody in here, some of you might think I'm weird. Anybody in here heard of Abraham Hicks? Abraham Hicks? It's a spirit in a woman's body. Awesome. You might think I'm weird. Abraham Hicks. Type in anything. Type in money. Type in divorce. Type in reconciliation. Type in whatever you want on Abraham Hicks. And listen.
That's an H-I-N-T.
Abraham Hicks, H-I-C-K-S. Okay?
I'm gonna hit pause if that's okay with you.
You know what? It is. Or we can go like 5 more minutes.
Let's go 5 more minutes.
I actually became that guy that didn't pay attention to the so here's what we're going to do. Write this down, you guys. Here's my kind of 12 steps, if you will, what helped me get out of this, and I think it can help you guys. Here they are. If you're not healthy right now, get healthy. Grow your mind. Establish a morning routine. Time block. Surround yourself with the right people. Okay, now that got a little rise out of everybody. Now here's where I turn into mean Mark. Okay. Here's why it's important. It's important. Does anybody know Steve Tufson here? Okay. So Steve is my mentor. So we're opening the Southside office real quick. We're opening the Southside office. He's a 25,000 foot guy. I'm a ground level guy. And I'm working on something to open this office, and he gets mad. He's mad. He doesn't usually get mad at me. He got mad because I was trying to be a perfectionist. And he said this to me. He said, Mark, he said, here's your problem. He said, you have to be 100% correct in every decision that you make. And he said, sometimes 80% is good enough. And then that 20%, when you're trying to be perfect, he said, you, my friend, you miss out on opportunity. He got up and he left. And I didn't know whether to get up and choke him or to go, that's probably the smartest thing anybody's ever said to me. He also said something when we were opening the Southside office too, because that was a $21,000 a month rent, of which we were on the hook for if we didn't make money. This was 2014, so it's not like we're long out of the recession. And I couldn't sign the paperwork. I literally couldn't sign the lease. And what he did was, I got the pen in my hand, and I'll never forget this. And he reached over and he grabbed my palm. And he said, Mark, your whole life, you've hit 800. He said, you can't let 4 years that brought the world to its knees affect how you make decisions the rest of your life. So guys, those are the people that you want to surround yourself with. And I will tell you this, Wiki, Chris, Ray, they're those type of people. I know that. I know that for sure. But here's the thing nobody thinks about, because everybody said, yeah, So hard to do it. You gotta earn the right. You gotta earn the right to hang around. Because honestly, if I didn't think so highly of Wiki, and I thought Wiki was just another guy that's going to do this for a year, I'm not coming over here. I'm not doing this. I'm not hanging out with him. I'm just not. He hasn't earned the right. And I don't mean to say I'm not arrogant, but why in the world, if I want to create a lifestyle for my family that I feel that they deserve without allowing fear to hinder its progress, I'm going to hang out with a guy that's going to drain me. So look in the mirror, remove the ego. Are you a taker or are you a giver? And maybe you ask your best friend, and your best friend will probably say that you're a giver. But really ask your best friend, who's your best friend? Because they'll give you the truth. And maybe you are a giver. Maybe, just maybe, you're a taker. And then you wouldn't have earned the right. So earn the right, hanging out with the right people. Right out of 135, understand the power of a made-up mind. Find your passion. Master your craft. We're almost there. Study investments. What does it take to own a market center? What does that look like to own a market center or be an investor in a market center? What does it look like right now? Boeing is way, way down. Do we invest in Boeing right now? What do? Study. This is something that this is going to go get old, but I really try every day to do before I do anything. Compliment 2 people a day. Get you in the right frame of mind. Whether you have a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a significant other, a husband, or a wife, have a complimentary partner. And then finally, whatever your higher power is, whatever that is, study it, understand it, be part of it. There's 12 steps right there. But all I ask you guys is do something. If you are not happy with where you are, at least give that a shot. Follow it. It'll change your life. It'll change the life of this market center. And I'm telling you right now, where this market center is going, you guys want to be a part of it. because of the culture that's being created. Yes, sir.
I think I might be missing one. You might just run it through real
No, not at all. Real fast. It's actually 13. Get healthy if you're not. Grow your mind. That stuff. Establish a morning routine. Time block. Surround yourself with the right people. Write out a 1-3-5. Understand the power of a made-up mind, your made-up mind. Find your passion. Master your craft. Think of real estate, guys, not as a job, but as a craft, where you mastered it. For the folks that were in Macklin's class this morning, good job. For the folks that are here, good job. Study investments. Compliment 2 people per day. Make sure if you're in a relationship, make sure that that person's complimentary. And study whatever your higher power is. And go out and change your life. And have fun doing it. And it doesn't mean that you won't have bumps along the way. I had a big bump in 2016. I failed as a Ray. I was a Ray at one time. And I failed. I was a Ray in St. Augustine. I got pulled away from me by that dastardly Steve Tufts. Because I didn't do it. I didn't make it. But here's what I knew. I'd already been through this. So I was going to be okay. And I'll learn from it. And I'll grow from it. And I have. And that's what we talk about when we talk about failing forward. And I'll fail again. But it's okay. So, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
But before we go break out to eat, I want to bring Wanda is a very hard act to follow. Wanda is with Supreme Lending, and she's